Hello and welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla. Of course, I am your mayor of this wacky network of misfits, and I'm joined by said misfit, our father overlord himself, the one and only Jacob Franklin. Jacob, thank you for joining me, pal.
No problem. I think it's only fitting that, we replace one tall, lanky white man with another tall,
Yeah.
lanky white
Yeah.
man.
I mean, there's a good chance that most people, if you just talk about FIP and WOBA and ERA plus enough that people aren't even going to notice the difference, to be honest. So, but happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day to you. Happy National Hat Day. Happy International Signing Day in Major League Baseball. A lot of things going on today. What's your favorite hat, Jacob? What's the best Arizona Diamondbacks hat?
I was going to say in existence. I was going to say, have you ever seen like the Twitter account We Rate Dogs?
Yes.
It says heck across the front because that's my favorite hat of all time. Are you talking like new D-backs hats, or are you?
I'm talking about like the new stuff. In general, like what's your favorite D-backs hat, like of all time? What's the best Diamondbacks hat?
Well, that's
is that too much to ask?
It's quite a bit actually. It's probably got to be the black version of that hat with the copper D on it.
That's a good one.
The purple. Yeah, it looks really, really clean.
That's a good one. It's not the correct answer though. This is the correct answer. It's this hat. This is the best hat
too. Yeah,
this is the best hat. It's funny though. You bring up the copper, and the copper is the one thing that I love so much about that hat. And I mean, teal is great. I love the way this looks. I think this really pops nicely. I like the new combos, but copper should never have been abandoned.
No, copper is a really good color when it comes to this state. Obviously, it's one of the 5 C's. If you've lived here your whole life and you did your 5th grade project on the state here, it is one of the 5 C's of Arizona. Derek, I will give you $0 if you can name all the other ones.
Copper, cotton, climate, citrus, and wait, no, I already said cotton. Did I say cotton? I think I did say cotton. What's the last one?
Cattle.
I was never going to get that.
It's a bit obscure. It's a bit obscure.
Yeah, it's a bit obscure, but ski to all of our friends here today, by the way. I hope you guys all have your favorite Diamondbacks hats in mind. Drop them in the chat. Gabriel says the Black D and the Milkman hat are the GOAT. Those are great selections. Black D is just, it goes so hard. That hat particularly, again with the copper and the colors always look great. But there will be a new player donning the Arizona Diamondbacks hat with International Signing Day happening. The D-backs have reportedly come to terms with 2 Dominican outfield prospects in Adriel Rodney and Belfi Rivera at Monday's opening of the 2024 period. This is per Jesse Borick and Jesus Cano from MLB.com. Jesus is a great guy, by the way. But this is an interesting signing, Jacob. And the reason why, I'll tell you the exact reason why. Rodney is a 16-year-old outfielder that reminds evaluators of Julio Rodriguez.
It's not a bad comp. If you're a baseball person, I saw something out there that said he is 16 years old, but he's already 6'1", 180. That's a grown man.
That's a grown man.
That's a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, he's taller than half the people in our office. And he I'm sure 90% of that 180 pounds is muscle. So it's a guy that you don't want to cross, because if he's already that size, just imagine the athleticism taking over as he gets a bit older.
Now we do have some little conflict here. So he is the number 10 ranked overall prospect, according to MLB.com, but Fangraphs actually has him ranked as their 3rd overall international prospect, which is just interesting. There's interesting there. They have a Fangraphs score, I think, of 45 plus, but very exciting about, a future player, obviously 16 years old, but this is what they had for the scouting grades for Adriel Rodney on a 20 to 80 scale for him. Let's take a look at that. Not bad. A lot of things above average here. 50 hit, power 55, his run is 50, arm 55, field 50, overall grade 55 for his scouting grades there. Grades out again as a very well-rounded player overall, and he's shown some nice power. Not a lot of information about his stats, but that's because he's 16 years old, and there's not a lot of information in general out there about some of these kids this young. That's why,
Yeah.
again, backs and almost I think every Major League Baseball team has a scouting combine in the Dominican Republic. They're all kind of like a scouting academy that are all by each other. And these are all the reasons why, is because they can help these kids. And again, this isn't like a draft. This is a signing period. So these young players can opt for which teams they want to sign for.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's always so difficult for a lot of these people to grade. Obviously, over the last 10, 15 years, it's gotten, it's a little more exact than it was. I think we've talked about this before when Yasiel Puig signed with the Dodgers. It was one of those, like, almost everybody was like, well, we got to go jump at the chance to
Yeah.
sign our next
Yeah.
international free agent, right? Because Yasiel Puig
Right.
was a superstar in LA at the time, and so I think, while there's always been that connection, Dominican, Cuban, Hispanic connection in the MLB, I think, in that time period when everybody went out there to go get their top international free agent is kind of when we saw a turn, and people started getting out there to scout a little bit more. You ended up with your contracts that didn't pan out. I mean, obviously, Diamondbacks fans are extremely familiar with Yasmani Tomas and that contract situation, but
Oh yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
think over time, fans will start to see the fact that these teams are actually getting out there and they're able to scout a lot better. But a lot of the times, these kids are 16 years old when they're signing, and so it's really, really difficult for them to evaluate just exactly what they're going to be. Last year's class for the Diamondbacks was actually really beneficial. I think three of those players ended up in, um, they ended up in the top 30 in this system. So I'm really excited to see what Hazen can do. They have a pretty large international bonus pool to use.
Yeah, they
Uh,
do. They have one of the
so,
largest,
yeah,
actually, or they're in that
exactly.
group with like the Guardians and a few other teams that have the largest amount to pull from.
Yeah, so sometimes it can be a crapshoot, but it's one of those, like, it might not be an exact science, but you might end up with a gem, and that's
Yeah.
just from the fact that things have gotten a lot more advanced when it comes for the team's abilities to send a scout down there. I think there are people that almost spend a good chunk of time down there evaluating these
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. That's why it's kind of hilarious, because I really didn't know until I looked it up on a map, the Diamondbacks like academy in the Dominican Republic, and then you like kind of zoom out a little bit and there's like 20 other teams who have an academy right there in that same vicinity of where the Diamondbacks one is located, right? Scouting international talent is huge. It is odd at times, like I said before. Like, you brought up a great point about Puig, right? Where it almost felt like a trend in Major League Baseball to go after a top Cuban player due to the success
Oh,
of Yasiel Puig.
Jose
And
Abreu, yeah.
yeah, I mean, well, and just not that, it's not just the ones that worked out necessarily. It's the fact that almost every team started looking into it at that point, considering that Cuban players did become available to Major League Baseball just recently. So that's something that did change. Prior to that, it was literally an escaping from Cuba kind of situation at times, including for
Yes.
Yasiel Puig, right? What I think about now, though, is it's kind of what's happening in a way with Japanese players, right? Like, it's not to say that Major League Baseball has not had Korean and Japanese players have success and be a part of the league, but it's like Shohei Ohtani was such a success, becoming one of the best players in the game, that I feel like that is causing this, like this trust, I guess you could say, in providing these large contracts to players overseas from Japan, from Korea, without seeing if they can find that success in Major League Baseball first. Just trusting based on what you've seen over there, knowing that those leagues are as competitive as Major League Baseball, and that you can trust what you see in a guy like Yamamoto is going to translate over to playing with in Major League Baseball, right? But
Sure.
this is still another weird part of baseball to me, and I know it's part of all sports, right? To scout guys, scout players at a really young age, but to sign a guy at 16 years old is just wild to me. And that's
Derek, what
what
were
are the
you doing
rules?
at 16? What were you
What's that?
doing at 16? What were you doing at 16 with your life?
Oh my God, 16 years old. I was completely lost as a person at 16 years old. My parents had divorced my freshman year of high school, like that summer, and I had moved with my dad to Puerto Rico. And then my dad had a plan to move to New York and open a restaurant. So I was basically like, I felt like I had no home for a period of time there. I had no idea where I was going to go to school or in what city or what, like, if it was going to be a state or a commonwealth. There was a lot of things I did not know, Jacob, at 16 years old, but I definitely had no clue of what my future was going to be. And Michael, yes, I am still lost as a
You know,
person. That's
if somebody handed you $1.8 million as a signing bonus at 16, what would you have done with the money?
spent it all on video games. Spent every dime of it on
Wouldn't
video
you
games.
still do that though? I mean, look
Yeah,
at your
I mean,
background.
look,
Yes.
look
Go
behind
ahead.
me right now. I think that is obvious for sure. But this is an interesting signing again. Like I said, the intriguing part aside from the comparisons, obviously to Julio Rodriguez, that's something you very much want to hear. The fact that Fangraphs has him ranked so much higher than MLB.com is interesting to me.
Yeah, it's like I said, a lot of this isn't an exact science. A
Right.
lot of these
Absolutely.
baseball pages, they don't have their own evaluators out there. They might send, a guy or two, but a lot of these teams are sending people. There's what people don't realize is a lot of these kids are actually playing in camps that are sanctioned by a lot of Major League Baseball teams. I mean, the Diamondbacks have a Dominican camp down there that
Right.
they have players that are a part of in their Dominican system, and it's a good way for them to evaluate. I think a lot of, and I think this might be true for just any sport across the board, a lot of evaluation of these kids is based off of their raw physical abilities. And so while MLB, might be more apt to send somebody down there to scout a player, Fangraphs is, they're probably sitting a little bit more in, well, this kid's 6'1", 170, like looking at the
Metrics
tape, like
based.
the
Yeah.
raw power looks like it's, it could grade out significantly higher than it already does, and it's a kind of a guess. You can get there are people that spend their lives looking at film, and they can get very, 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 very good at it. But I think that this just goes to show that even if MLB has them at 10 and Fangraphs has them at 3, like it's people are going to disagree. One guy
Yeah.
sees one thing and another guy sees another, and
Very true.
you can spend your whole life doing something but still have a different opinion than somebody else.
And it's wild how you just never know how it's going to translate over. You never know ultimately, even with drafting these kids, because baseball is just a weird sport like that. It takes so much more than raw talent to be a quality Major League Baseball player, and part of it is going through these years and years and years of kind of honing your craft and refining your skill
Yeah.
set to be ready to play at a major league level, right? But I mean, we'll talk about that more later, of course, and especially in comparison to other sports. I do want to thank you guys, of course, for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel right now, though. Want to thank, of course, everybody for spending maybe your day off. I hope you have your day off today. If not, if you're at work, you're always welcome here. But regardless, make sure you subscribe to the channel, sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. Leave us a like. We always appreciate that. And we will never take it in. Yeah, drop those likes. We'll never take it in a negative way. Smash that like button. If you're listening on the audio podcasting side, we love you too. Want to make sure you're subscribed over there as well. And make sure you leave us a review. We appreciate those 5-star reviews very much. Of course, if you want to check out a great way to improve your home, improve your space, Empire Today is a great way to do that. You can do it with video games if you're a man child like me, but if you want to have a classy, nice home with good flooring, make sure to do it through Empire Today. They make it shopping at home easy and convenient, as easy as Damon makes us doing this show right now from home for us. Empire Today makes it equally easy for you to shop for flooring with a curated product selection and a virtual home designer, which will allow you to, or floor designer, excuse me, virtual floor designer. The home designer, that's the Sims, that's a different game, but the virtual floor designer will allow you to see how any flooring looks in your home. That way you don't have to have people come out. and intrude your home prior to you knowing when you're going to have those floors installed. You also don't have to go to a showroom. You have to go anywhere. You can shop at home conveniently, and that's what Empire Today prides itself on. Of course, they also pride themselves on servicing their own warranties. So if you have any issues with your flooring, Empire Today will take care of it for you. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 discount when they use promo code PHNX. Restrictions do apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. And of course, even though I'm staying home, I'm still stopping by Circle K because I need myself a drink. I need to fill up my car with gas to make sure I get the week started right. And of course, Circle K is the best place to do that, especially when you are a member of the Inner Circle program. Inner Circle Rewards will allow you to get 25 cents off per gallon for your first 5 fill-ups. You also get 3 cents off per gallon for every fill-up. After that, you get a ton of offers in the app for free, including for food, buy one, get one free, just blatantly free stuff. Circle K is just giving it away to you for free. And that is also how much the Inner Circle Rewards program costs. It's absolutely free. You can join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply. Participating locations, see circlek.com for details. Jacob, glad you're here. And I'm glad we can finally, once again, do this on an actual Monday, because regardless of the month, of course, every month on this show is Black History Month. Every month on this show is Women's History Month. Every month on this show is Black Women's History Month. It's also always Shark Week every week around here. Every day is International Signing Day. And of course, on Mondays, we go to the mailbag. Damon, shall we?
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox, and then once in a while there's a letter that makes me go wow, wow. My mailbox.
All right, what is our first Mailbag Monday question? This one comes from D-Backs MT. That's at Jeff Irving 16 on the Twitter. And he asks, not really a question, but interesting note that Fangraphs has Adriel Rodney ranked above Shota Imanaga in their international prospect rankings. Cubs gave Imanaga $80 million. He's also above Eric Fedde. Interesting there. And again, like you said, there's obviously a big difference there between a 16-year-old kid and players who are going to contribute to their team right now, right? So I think that rankings are rankings, but it's all meaningless when it comes to when you're going to contribute and if you're actually going to be better than those players, right?
Yeah, unless you're Scott Boras, then you'll sit there and say that Eric Fedde was the most talked about guy in existence.
He was the most important relief pitcher of the offseason period, and that's a fact.
And and then that showed in his contract that he's extremely, he got paid at least $7 billion. But it's one of those things where it's like you hope that every move that you make is going to pan out, and it's so easy to get caught up in looking at rankings and all of this and all of that. Yeah. At the end of the day, if I was an evaluator, at least on paper, Shota Imanaga has plenty of tape, in a high-level situation.
Yeah, that's the big difference.
Now, does he possess the same amount of tools? Maybe not. Two very different guys, obviously, one being an outfielder, one being a pitcher. So really hard to put one up against the other. I'm going to be interested to see where this lands. Once again, it seems like this team has a knack for really toolsy outfielders. So it's one of those, like, does he even have he's 16. So, like, you might not even hear his name again for the next 6 years, right? Unless he's Bryce Harper and he'll hit the big leagues at 18. You know what I mean? So
you never know.
Really
like, you might never hear his name again, period. Like, you might not make it as a major league baseball player or even a minor leaguer in the major league system. Like, you never know how things, especially for a 16-year-old, are going to pan out.
Yeah. So it's, like right now on paper, I'd probably take the more sure thing with Shota. I'm not sure he's a sure thing in MLB, but he has a tangible contract. He's on a big league roster, and he's probably going to make the opening day rotation. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be a piece of what the Cubs are looking to do this year. And so it's great to look at rankings and be like, well, yeah, we didn't get Shota, but we got this kid who's 16 and ranked higher by Fangraphs than Shota is. But at the end of the day, one's going to be on a big league roster at the start of the year and the other isn't.
Yeah, and the other isn't for a very long time. So that's for sure. But the D-backs, again, investing in their future, and hopefully the scouting, and some of the luck they've had with finding some of those good players, deep, not really, getting guys that people know of, and then having them become a player, a name you recognize is kind of their thing. What else we got, Damon? Rick Hughes at DB11S3 on Twitter asked, any word on how the team plans to ramp up Gallen and Kelly after the deep run and short recovery time? I've witnessed teams botch that and have terrible start, i.e. the 2019 Red Sox. I trust the Yoda of pitching, but should we expect a different look to the spring training ramp up? I don't think so, because I think Merrill Kelly had a very odd start to his season last year with the World Baseball Classic and everything.
Yeah.
Just the way that his, off season went. I feel like starting pitchers kind of use spring training in a different manner, where spring training is not like, they're not competing for a job. Zach Gallen isn't competing for a job. Merrill Kelly isn't competing for a job. So there's a chance that they could just work on some things against, competitive at bats, and that's it. And that might be what they use their spring for, but I don't think there'll be a problem. I just think that, like, for the most part, again, the extra time off is always good, especially for a season like baseball. So maybe they give them a lighter workload in the beginning or something of the sort, but I doubt it. These guys are athletes. They're out there training year round anyway, even though it's an off season. Not many of them are taking the 3 months off and going on a fishing trip like baseball players used to at one time.
Derek, are you a superstitious human?
I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious.
Do you believe in the World Series hangover?
No, I mean, not really. I think, I guess there is something to be said about, like, patting yourself on the back a little too much, after you achieve something, even if you didn't win the World Series, but getting as far as they did. I think that there could be the adverse effect where that makes them hungry to get back to the playoffs and back to that championship, game or that championship series and try to win it this time. So I don't really know. I mean, a lot of it, I think, depends on, how Torrey kind of motivates this team and keeps them focused. I don't think that's going to be a problem for him. He has I feel like Torrey has a great understanding of life and getting, like right now, getting that break away from baseball, not even talking about it until, you get back to the field and things like that. But it's just different. You see these guys like Gabby Moreno out there in a full Suns uniform, taking at bats, hitting off a tee. Diamondbacks put that incredible video out there of Ketel Marte training I think that's in the Dominican Republic, but just fire me up, man. I am so I'm these guys aren't like I said, they're not relaxing, they're not kind of sitting back and just like being satisfied with how far they made it. From the looks of things, these guys are all locked in and ready to get back there next year.
Yeah, I agree. So and I think this goes for any professional sport. Everybody always assumes that the teams who make it to the championship experience some sort of hangover the next year, things they struggle early on in the season. Now, I will say the only position group that I actually do believe that a deep run into the playoffs makes an impact on is your starting pitching. So I do slightly disagree with what you said a little bit earlier. I do think that early in spring training, we won't see a lot of those guys starting games. Obviously, they're still going to be putting the work in behind the scenes. I don't think they're going to be making a lot of pitches until later in spring training in live game situations.
I don't disagree with you about that. I'm sorry if I made it sound different. I said, like, those guys don't have anything to worry about. So if anything, they're going to be working on stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, I could see that. I could see them not starting a couple of the early spring training games and not needing to be up. I mean, I could even see them getting ramped up on the backfield and such at times. Like, again, I don't know if the live at bats is going to be as important for, again, Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly as it is for Ryan Nelson, Tommy Henry, and some of those other guys that are going to go out there competing for a spot.
Yeah, Zach. I think Zach Gallen. I don't remember the exact figure, but I think by the end of the year he had thrown over like 100 innings more than any of his previous highs. So I mean, it taxes those guys a lot, especially when you make a deep run in the playoffs, because you're running a 3-4-man rotation. I mean, obviously we didn't have a fourth man; they were running a bullpen game every fourth game. But you're pitching more than you were, and so your arm does take a little bit of a beating. That shoulder's probably a little more sore, but it doesn't take longer than a month, 2 months, like to get some of that rest that they need after the end of the season. So while we might not see them in live situations, I do think that they're going to be taking their reps in the backfields. I do think that they're going to be working out with the team.
Yeah.
I do trust Brent Strom. He's been there before with the Astros. He knows exactly what it looks like trying to get arms ready for the next season following a deep playoff run. So I'm not worried about it at all. I do, if Zach Gallen goes out there or Merrill Kelly goes out there and starts, in one of the first 2 weeks in spring training and pitches a 3 or 4 inning game, maybe I'll have a question or two, because, I'm all about preserving arms, especially with this team's hopes. I think last year the hope was that they were going to be a wild card team. This year, after watching last year, I think everybody's expectations are probably a bit higher. And LCS, this is not a wild card team anymore. Now, will they get a wild card spot? Depending on what the Dodgers do. Like, I think most people are expecting the Dodgers to run away with this division with the roster that they have. But I think the expectations are another deep playoff run. And I think in order to achieve that, you probably do need to rest those guys a little bit toward the beginning of the year. But that's every team. I mean, Zach Gallen's not going to go out there and throw a 9-inning complete game on opening day. He's probably going to get pulled after 5 innings.
Yeah. No, that's the truth. That's for sure. And honestly, I think, again, there were a lot of extra innings put on their arms, obviously more than most starting pitchers in baseball, just based on the fact that they were Zach Gallen, for instance, had his best year as far as durability is concerned. And then he also made that deep playoff run. We know Merrill Kelly pitched a little less, but he pitched 200 innings last year. And I mean, Merrill Kelly, again, is a guy that probably wants to go out there on day one of spring training and get the ball, but they'll know what they're doing. Like the thing I agree with you the most about is Brent Strom has handled playoff teams. He's won the World Series before, and he's known how to come back the following year and make sure that bullpen was ready to go. So I think if there's anybody I feel comfortable with putting my trust in when it comes to that, it's Stromy.
Yeah, he's been there and done that.
Yeah. Elise says, so don't buy tickets to D-back spring training games in early March and expect to see Zach or Merrill pitching a few innings. Correct. That's correct. And then Michael also is correct when he says, but at the same time, early spring training games are the best because there aren't as many people. Also true. You got to find that sweet spot.
Yeah. You'll probably see a healthy dose of Lawler. You're going to see a healthy dose of Jordan Lawler in the spring training, which that's always a great reason to buy tickets. Spring training for me was always a great way to go see the prospects, because it's one of those, like, a guy like Jordan Lawler is going to be carried through basically the entirety of camp until the last cut mark, right? He's not going to get cut in the first week like some of those 19-year-old kids are. Like, he's going to get carried until the end. And so that's always worth the price of admission, if you're asking me.
You're going to get a dose of Blake Walston. You're going to get to see a lot of guys that we haven't had a chance to see very much. So it's going to be fun to go out there and see the young guys, especially considering that this team is going to continue to utilize prospects from their minor league system in order to, fill gaps. There's going to be a need at times for some of these guys that are on the 40-man roster to come up and be a part even maybe of the starting rotation. So go see them now. Bring your baseball cards. It's a great time to get them signed. What else we got, Damon? Michael Rokicki says, with today being MLK Day, if you could make a list of the top 5 all-time African-American D-backs players, who would be on it? Well, yes, this is totally something that 2 Caucasian, very, very Caucasian.
We're very qualified to speak on
looking men should handle for sure. But it is interesting, right? Because one thing that is kind of a struggle is that the Diamondbacks haven't had a lot of African-American players. There's been plenty of players of, there's been plenty of Hispanic players. What?
There's been enough. There has been enough to make a list.
There has been, but I'm just saying in general, like it's kind of weird because baseball it's a problem that goes beyond just the Diamondbacks organization, right? And I really think at the end of the day, it's a problem with baseball itself. I think that if you are a very, very athletic person, that even if you love baseball, from looking at it from the standpoint of what baseball players have to go through to get to Major League Baseball, if you played any other sport, why would you pursue baseball? Baseball makes it so hard for you to reach that goal of making it to, you know, the major leagues of baseball versus other sports that don't, you know, make it such a hard process to like get through the minor league system in order for you to get to that, you know, to where you want to be in life, right? I mean, I don't know. I sometimes think that if I had a choice of which sport to play, baseball would probably, even though I love playing baseball. Baseball is so much fun to play. It's literally like football sucks to play. Football is not fun.
Who wants to get hit? I mean, did you see the picture of Pat Mahomes with his helmet cracked? Who wants that?
Yeah. Did you see the husband and wife law team guy in that commercial taking hits? That dude was taking hits. First of all, let's give credit where credit's due. And I feel like that man did not walk straight the next day.
They're all over the place. Those two, they're all over the place.
Yeah,
the husband and wife
that's a whole other episode. But all right, yeah, let's top 5 African American players and on the Diamondbacks.
You and I disagree. You and I disagree on number 1.
About number 1. Yeah. I say Justin Upton is number 1. You say O-Dog.
I say O-Dog. From a pure likable standpoint, and in his 3 years here, was a 300 hitter with, you know, plenty of flair, a couple of Gold Gloves. I think from a standpoint of this fan base, I honestly think Orlando Hudson, and I could be crazy for saying this, did just as much for this organization as Justin Upton, and was probably a better human.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you though, I think Justin Upton was just, and I hate to say this, he was just a vastly misunderstood guy that was, had a role thrust upon him that he was never interested in having. But yes, Tony Womack has to also be in this discussion. Yes, I mean, you could probably make a case for all 3 of these guys to be number 1 or kind of interchangeable there at the top for their contributions to the Diamondbacks. I mean, again, Tony Womack's contributions to that World Series team often get overshadowed by, you know, like the big hit there at the end, or, you know, the way that Randy Johnson came in Game 7 and did what he did. But Tony Womack was a part of all of that. And even going back in like the NLDS and stuff, he was an absolute stud for this team during that playoff run.
Yeah, he was, and I think people underestimate the fact that I think it was his hit in the 9th inning that actually goes down as one of the top 5 most clutch hits in MLB history.
Yeah,
it's not even the Gonzo hit, it's not the Gracie hit, it's the Tony Womack double. You know, the situation that he was in, facing one of the greatest closers of all time, it goes down in history. You know, for me, I think it goes probably Orlando Hudson first, probably Justin Upton second. From for me, you have to remember that I'm looking at this list from the perspective of somebody that was born in 1997. So how you perceive some of these guys and how I perceive some of these guys, it's going to be different. You're just a little bit older than me, just a little bit. So while Tony Womack probably falls into 3 at that list, it's because I don't remember it. I don't remember any of his time here. And for me, as a you know, I think I was 10 watching Justin Upton take hacks for this team, 10, 11, 12. When he left the organization, he left in such a way that I kind of, you know, like I was in the time period of my life where I idolized a lot of these guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it was one of those, like, it crushed me when he was like, I don't want to play here. They suck. And like, no matter what Orlando Hudson did, he was always happy to be here. He did everything with a smile on his face. And so that's what kind of puts him at 1, Upton 2, let Womack 3, and then we can go from there. For me, I'm sure yours is different.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean that's like I said, I don't think there's a wrong answer when it comes to those guys. Tommy Pham.
Yeah, Saul and I talked about this morning. He said Tommy Pham fits the list, but he mentioned Junior Spivey.
Junior Spivey
Junior
was
Spivey,
incredible.
Tony Clark,
Yeah, Tony
who's now
Clark
the
is a
head
good
of
choice as well.
MLBPA right now,
Yeah.
or at least he was for a while. I don't know if he still is, but also a really great dude. Adam Jones, a name that you brought up.
That's my guy.
That's Mr. America. So he slots
That's
in
my
at
guy.
4 for me because
I love Adam
even
Jones so much.
he might not have been a great player while he was here, but from a fan perspective, having Mr. USA on our team was fun.
And he loved my shirts. He loved my button-up pattern shirts. I don't think, like I said before on this program, he remembered me. Every time he told me he liked my shirt, it sounded like the first time he was talking to me ever. But he always complimented my shirt, so that puts him at number 2 on this list for me. That's the way that works for me. But no, I mean, again, some just absolute great players in this franchise. Junior Spivey, you brought up, man, that guy, I was a huge Junior Spivey fan, just huge. That guy,
people in the chat mentioned Chris Young.
Chris Young, yeah, Chris Young's another guy that was absolutely incredible
Had
for
some
this
thump.
team.
He had some thump and played a great defensive center field. This team has been blessed with some
Yeah.
really great defensive center fielders.
Absolutely. All right, what else we got there, Damon? We got another question. We got one more, I think, from Ryan. No, maybe not. Nope, that's not it. We already got that one. I got it, even if we don't. Ryan asked, any update on if there will be a fan fest this year? The people want to know. So I don't have an update on Fan Fest, and I feel like at this point it's getting very late. Chances are, if there is a Fan Fest, it's going to be like what we saw last year, where it is for season ticket holders only. But this is purely speculation. I legitimately have investigated and looked into it and have not received.
Let me reach out to some people.
You reach out to some people and see if we can provide some information, because again, I know that last year part of it had to do with like the Super Bowl chaos that was going on downtown, and I think they were just trying to limit potentially how many people came over to check out Chase Field. Like, I made the case last year, if you're here in town for the Super Bowl and you're staying downtown and Chase Field is just having an open house day with like bounce houses and stuff, you're going to go check it out. There's a chance that if that particular one was open to the public like it normally is, it might have just been chaos. I do know that they also have discussed wanting to provide additional benefits to their season ticket holders, and that's part of the reason why they went with the advantage member only kind of fan fest that they did last year.
Yeah, and it's one of those, like, I never really went to FanFest, but I can understand where people are coming from when they desperately want to go to FanFest, because
it's great,
especially after a run like this. I mean, what team doesn't like money first and foremost? And that's, you're going to rake in the money after a World Series run. So I really hope that they can figure this out. I don't know what the holdup was last year. I don't really remember what it was, but people deserve a chance to get to connect with their team on a deeper level. So I think it's. I really hope that they're able to figure it out.
I mean, I think that one thing is and people are saying it in the chat, like, this is a huge missed opportunity after the success of this team in the World Series. You want to build your fans, right? You also want to make money. Making money is also very good, Jacob. It's my point about the jerseys. Like, I'm a reasonable person. I understand why the jersey situation is what it is, because they had the plan to change, the situation. I use the Josh Dobbs jersey from the Minnesota Vikings way too often, but literally the guy became a part of their team the next week. He was, he ran a game-winning drive, and then they had his jersey available in the team shop. Not a customizable one, but an actual jersey you could buy, right? A replica. I know things take time, but also there's ways to make things take less time. There's also ways to expedite the process because of the fact that you are in the World Series, right? Like, like I said, the Lourdes Gurriel Jr. jersey is an all-star game jersey, not a Diamondbacks jersey, an all-star game jersey. They did not know Lourdes Gurriel Jr. was going to be on the all-star team
No.
2 years ago, 3 years ago, a year ago. That happened quickly. That happened suddenly. And they still were able to produce a replica jersey in time to make it available on the team shop, not only for the all-star game, but beyond that, right? The fact that, and you can go watch my jersey and hear my video and hear me scream.
Where are the jerseys? Give us the jerseys.
But it's just like, dude, it's a matter of like, I know merchandise isn't the core driver of the money that they spend on this team, but they are literally turning money away. And while I appreciate the fact that they didn't put out jerseys of that they were going to replace the next year, like as a fan, I don't want to buy an Alec Thomas jersey that then they replace the next year. That sucks. However, this team went to the World Series, so that is different. Like you almost want maybe one of those jerseys from that year so that you have it as a memory of the remarkable run that this team went on. And like, I just feel like I view it differently when you're talking about a team that made it to the World Series. I know the World Series jerseys weren't very snazzy. I know they weren't very different. I know they just had the little Diamond World Series logo on it, but Just Sports has one of those available with no player on the back. And I think that that's absurd that replicas were made with the little logo here, right? But not with Carroll on the back, not with, Moreno, not with any of these guys, Gallen that got them to the World Series. It's just a huge missed opportunity. People, again, want to spend their money on these things, and you're literally not allowing them to. Jerseys next year are going to pop off. People are going to spend their money on the new jerseys.
Yes,
they literally can't wait for them to come out. One of our listeners, Nicholas, went down to Chase Field just to get his customized. He got the new cream one and he got it customized. Like it's awesome that he did that, but it's ridiculous that he had to. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, we'll go on and I'll calm myself down about that. But if they don't have FanFest, it's a huge missed opportunity. And again, you can do it for season ticket holders, but that's even kind of a missed opportunity. Really, what you want to do is you want to invite in new fans. You want to welcome them, and you want them to be a part of the 2024 season. We have plenty of room for bandwagon fans on this wagon. Join us, be a part of this thing that we're building here in the Valley. All right. Well, again, we thank you guys for being diehard members. If you are one, talking about building stuff here in the Valley. If you're not a diehard member yet, make sure to go grab one over at gophnx.com. Become part of our family. Get yourself a free t-shirt from the phnxlocker.com and so much more, including discounts with our partners, Jesse's newsletter, all of our content, access to the Discord lounge, discounts on events like our takeover coming up in July, where we're going to be at the pool at Chase Field. Why not get a discount on that? Hop on it, become a member now, and join us. Do that thing and be a part of the family. Michael says, if you're not a diehard, then what are you doing?
I mean, the events are endless. I mean, we're running events all the time, and
to be
able to get it, to be able to get a discount on events
really fast. By the way,
yeah.
Putting World, I never would have thought I would have had as much fun going to Putting World as I did without windmills and without, giant clown mouths to, shoot the ball into. But this was a blast when we went out there as a team. We had one of our team meetings out there, and then we got to enjoy the Putting World. So you should join us for this putting party that we're having on January 24th. I will be out there with the Suns crew. There's going to be drinks. There's going to be beers. There's going to be wine. There's going to be all sorts of stuff. It's going to be a great time. So make sure to join us for that. Also, if you want to make all sports more fun, including watching Suns game, make sure to download the BetMGM Sportsbook app now. Get down on that, of course, on iOS or Android, or you can visit betmgm.com. If you do, you can sign up and deposit at least $5 into your account and use our promo code of PHNX. You place a wager in that amount of at least $5 at a standard odds price, and you will receive $158 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. I wagered this weekend on the Cleveland Browns, and they let me down. No surprise there. No surprise there. I feel like I feel like that was the actual full Cleveland Browns experience. If I'm being honest, I got my hopes up. I thought they were going to win and do something spectacular. And of course, 3 of the 4 legs of my parlay hit. The one that didn't being Browns money line. But you can be better than I am and sign up over at BetMGM. Use that bonus code of PHNX. Place your first BetMGM sportsbook wager through the sportsbook mobile application of at least $5. You will receive $150 instantly in additional winnings regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Ontario. That was the best we could do being remote like we are. Also, speaking of coming to games like our takeover event, make sure to check out Game Time if you want to experience the joy of concerts, shows, events, sporting events, all sorts of fun stuff. Do that now. Of course, if you don't want to miss out, this is the place for last minute ticket deals. Now, I'm a very poor planner. I miss out on announcements for when tickets go on sales for things all the time, not to mention the fact that I always convince myself I'm not going to want to go until the day comes along. And then that changes. So if you're like me, you can get those last minute ticket deals through Game Time. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off. Your first purchase, terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we got some more Mailbag Monday questions before we get out of here. Damon, what else we got? Next question comes from Kyle Dannon. Kyle asks, of our young core players, who would you pick to have the highest likelihood of a breakout season outside of both Corbin and Gabby, as I believe they have both already broken out? What do you think? Jacob, I'll let you know.
I think the easy answer is obviously probably Jordan Lawler. Just because you know that he's probably going to get a bulk of playing time this year, because at some point they're going to have to figure out what they have in him. However, I'm not going to go with the easy answer here because I feel like that's a little bit of a cop-out. I think if this team wants to be as good as it can be, I think an emergence of Jake McCarthy is needed.
Let's go. I had a similar answer. Same guy.
I think Jake McCarthy really, really needs to show us just exactly what he can do, because from a base stealing perspective, I think he's neck and neck with Corbin. I think he's also a guy that can net you 50 bases. Obviously, there were a few holes in his swing last year that he really just struggled to get patched up between AAA and the major league level. But he had really started to put a good swing on the baseball before the playoffs, and it was really unfortunate to see him go down with the injury, because I do think that he probably would have contributed some, late game pinch running, a lot of those factors. But I really want to know just what he's capable of this year, because you need to know whether he's your guy until Drew Jones is ready to go, or if you need to move on and figure out another answer. I mean, it's just one of those, like, he's going to get some significant playing time, but what does he do with it? You know what I mean? He's a really big question mark right now.
Yeah. Elise in the chat says, I don't even know if Jake will be on the team next season, depending on what trades Mike makes. But if he is, that is a good choice too. Remember, Elise is a known baseball GM, so I feel like she knows something there that we don't already. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, stringing the bats together is going to be really important for this team.
Oh yeah. I have a second choice, and I think that Ryan Nelson is going to have a breakout season.
I almost said Tommy Henry.
Looking to Tommy Henry, but I think Ryan Nelson is a guy that showed us in the playoffs when he came out of the bullpen and did what he did, what he was made of. And I was pretty impressed by that. I think that, there's going to be a lot of competition for that spot. I think obviously they will be without Dre Jameson for all of next year. So I think, of those two guys, I think Ryan Nelson might be the one that emerges and actually takes a hold of that, that fifth spot in the starting rotation. I still feel like competition for that spot is great for this team. And I really don't, as much as we'd probably like to see them, go after somebody in free agency or make a trade. I just feel like there is something to be said about Ryan Nelson. And you could be right, Nicholas. There could be a chance that Ryan has that breakout season out of the bullpen instead of necessarily being a starting pitcher. But
Great. That's
either
what the
way.
team needs. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it contribute. I mean, Dre Jameson's still injured for the first half of the year. Like, contribute. If you can figure out a way to contribute,
Yeah. Mark also makes a great point. Have we ever seen Elise and Mike Hazen together, like in the same room at the same time?
no,
I haven't.
no,
Have you?
haven't.
All right.
Definitely.
Well, that's it's the fact is we haven't, right? We're not making any accusations here. But if Mike Hazen were to be in here, he would probably be crafty enough to not necessarily have his, screen name be like Hike Mason, right? Like it's going to be something like Elise. He's going to be smart enough to really.
He is Elise. I think it's confirmed.
That's what it is. All right. Well, what else we got there, Damon? Travis Moore at Moore for me asks, is Blaze Alexander destined to become a trade chip? What's his value? It's starting to feel like it. It really is. Feel like Blaze Alexander is destined to become a trade chip. I mean, he's not getting any younger as far as being in this Diamondbacks organization. And I mean, I think much like Jordan Lawler, part of it is you don't want him sitting on the bench. You want him getting continuous at bats in AAA rather than having him be necessarily a backup up here on the major league roster. But I do feel like Blaze could be part of a trade package that we see the Diamondbacks put together potentially. I just think that they really at this point are getting kind of thin as far as their, top prospects, and they would really need to see a significant return to part with someone like Alexander.
Yeah, I mean, he's hit just about everywhere he's gone in the minor league system. He's got some significant pop from where he's at. It's really interesting because for a long time, I think Diamondbacks fans lived with this team just having a really, really bad farm system. So it's one of those. This is kind of the territory that comes with being able to build up an elite farm, right? Like it's one of those. You're hitting this point where you've got Zach Gallen for 2 more years, and does Blaze Alexander fit that timeline? Because and I'm just talking guarantees here, right? I've been more optimistic than some people that Gallen is maybe going to stick around longer than his 2 years. Merrill's got 2 years left, but you have to look at the now and Blaze. If you think he's the logical backup to Perdomo this year, then great. But are you omitting Lawler at that point? Because you've got 3 guys. One, Perdomo had a breakout season last year, all-star. I mean, do you think that Blaze is the guy to back him up until Lawler's ready? Do you want Lawler getting the consistent reps in AAA? But that's what happens when you.
It's a mess.
Yeah, exactly. It's what happens
really
when you have positional depth, because at some point somebody's going to be the odd man out, and you trade from the positional depth. So at this point, Blaze Alexander's probably he's probably a trade piece.
And look what just the Diamondbacks were the recipient of that. When you look at Gabriel Moreno, right? That's exactly what happened in Toronto. They have this stud in Gabriel Moreno, and they also have these studs that are part of the major league roster already, and they have no idea when Moreno is even going to get playing time, so that made him expendable, but it doesn't make it hurt any less to Toronto Blue Jays fans that he is doing as well as he is here. They're happy for him, but they also didn't want to lose him. They also don't want to see him go on to be the guy that he has become for this Diamondbacks team, just because you want that. Even though you have a good catcher at home, you still don't want your, good young players. Blaze could be that. Blaze could be the guy that goes plays for another organization, and we instantly regret it because we see him have success. But you have to still ask, when was he going to have that opportunity with this current roster? I don't know. Yeah. I do think that no job is safe right now. Zach Gallen is safe. Corbin Carroll's safe. A couple of guys are safe. Nobody's safe, though. No one can rest on their laurels. All of these guys are competing for a job. And if someone like Blaze comes up and impresses during spring training, you bet your ass that they're going to give him a shot. Like there's no doubt about it. Like you got to stay at the top of your game, because there is somebody always waiting to take your spot. Sometimes waiting in the wings, sometimes waiting in Reno, like that's a fact of baseball and all sports, really.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. It's an issue, but it's a good issue. I'd rather have this issue than like
Yeah,
Mark said, I'd rather have this
yeah,
issue than not knowing who is going to replace my subpar player that's currently on
that's
my major league roster because
so true.
I'd
That's
rather have somebody that's like, well, we have an all-star shortstop, but we've got, two guys waiting in the wings that are trying to steal his job.
I covered this team during the Dave Stewart era. Okay. There was a time where not only was the team terrible, but there was nothing on the horizon. There was nothing to look forward to into the future. There was nothing like I remember how horrible it was to be a fan during that period of time. And again, like Mark said, there's organizations that are dealing with that. They don't even know what their direction is. The Diamondbacks very much so have a direction. And in fact, they're, ahead of schedule. So that's what makes this team fun to watch is it feels like they're built for the future, but they're
Yep.
also competing now. So
Yep.
that's going to be
Absolutely.
just fun to watch. Speaking of Mark, let's get to Mark's question. It's the Don's bread question of the day. That's an aggressive he has an aggressive screen title now, screen name. But Don's bread, aka Mark, asked if you had to pull off a heist using the D-backs, who would you recruit for your heist?
All the fast guys.
That's a mistake right there. See,
Jake,
you need a
Corbin,
well-rounded crew, Jacob. You need a well-rounded crew. First of all,
Torrey's the
no, I'm going with Brent Strom. First of all, I'm getting Brent Strom as my point man. Brent Strom is going to help me plan this heist because Brent Strom has catalogs on each player. Do you realize, like, if you said, Brent, we're going to go rob the Phoenix Children's Museum, and I don't know why we would do that, but I'm just saying that's where our heist is perhaps going to be. Maybe there's a priceless diamond on display there. They have things rotate in and out. I don't know. What were you thinking? The Science Center or something? We're stealing a sea lion from Odyssey Aquarium is what we're doing. It doesn't matter the heist. I want Brent Strom there. He's going to have schematics. He's going to have blueprints. He's going to be ready to go. He's also going to help me pick the rest of the crew. And of course, yes, Corbin Carroll is part of that crew. Speed, savvy. He just contributes a lot. I feel like, mentally, he's brilliant.
He's that
right?
guy. He wants the ball when the game's on the line. Like he's just that dude.
Right. Now, we're going to need a contortionist. And for some reason, I think Gabby Moreno is going to be good at that. I have no information to back that up. This is, once again, it's purely speculation, but we're going to need somebody to get into small spaces. And I think Moreno's the guy for that. His purple hair really doesn't help to not attract attention to him, but that's fine because I'm going to send him in with Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and the two of them together with their purple hair. Their people are just going to instantly think that there's some sort of like Cirque du Soleil act or some sort of traveling,
There you go.
Something, like some clowns, maybe. I don't know. I don't want the clowns. That's the wrong word, but definitely something in an entertainment field. Who else do we need to add to this? I mean,
Ami ALLCITY.
Oh,
He's the brains. I mean, he's the guy. He's like, I know you mentioned Brett Strom's got the list, but like Ami ALLCITY is the guy. Most people don't realize that, like, we give a ton of credit to Mike Hazen for building, and he deserves his flowers.
Right.
But
he put together a crew. He assembled a crew, and that crew helped him pull off a heist. And that heist was getting Gabriel Moreno from the Toronto Blue Jays, essentially.
There's a guy, and it's Ami ALLCITY. A lot of the farm system comes from him.
Connor gave us an excellent job, and that was we're stealing the new replica jerseys from Fanatics and actually selling them to fans. That's what we're stealing. That's absolutely it. Alec Thomas's contributions to this squad. What are we thinking here?
Are we just talking the whole roster? Like, are we just choosing the whole roster now?
No, I think we need like a good 5-6 man crew here for a job this size. I don't know. Alec Thomas, he feels like the face from A-Team, right? He's the charming guy that can go in and talk to people. I know I've been charmed every time I've talked to him. I can only imagine Alec Thomas going in with his good looks and everything to obviously talk his way into a building of some kind. He'll get us into the Fanatics warehouse. He's the one that's telling them that he has a load of shipments inside the box, Gabriel Moreno and Alec Thomas. Or no, Corbin Carroll. Maybe Corbin Carroll's in the box too. I don't know. This job is all over the place. But Charles Woodall Pike says the only correct answer is Pavin Smith. And I don't know if that's in regards to this job or not, but yeah, let's bring Pavin in too. Why not? You got anything to add, Jacob?
He's not so, and he's very tall, not so inconspicuous.
Yeah.
Mm.
He's not threatening, though. You know? You're not going to believe he's involved in a crime.
But if you're robbing something, don't you want people that are kind of threatening in case you get caught?
You need a well-rounded crew, Jacob. You need a
You can't have like 15 people though, because that's too many.
Cattell's
Then
the
you gotta split the pot. Okay, now
Actually,
we just have. No, next question. We just listed every player on the roster.
Yeah,
This
Cattell's
question's
not a
done.
good getaway driver. His plates are probably expired. All right, what else we got? Last question. This one comes from Chris. Of course, our PHNX mom. And Chris asks, make a baseball team out of the PHNX D-backs faithful. What's your lineup? If faithful includes Damon and Danielle are my number 3 and number 4 hitters.
We're not getting into this argument again.
I'm putting them in the lineup, Jacob. I mean, it's interchangeable. Once again, one can be 3, one can be 4. I'm definitely having Mark Solera in there. Mark, and actually, Gabriel. Gabriel's in here. I'd have Gabriel in my starting lineup. Connor Mormon would probably be a power bat. I think Connor would be a great part of this. Obviously, Elise is the GM of the team. There's no question.
Yeah, I was going to say, we already have our GM. So
I might as well just leave it in Elise's
yeah.
hands to choose the talent, right?
Yeah. I mean, we need to look no further. She's got it.
Yeah. Let's see. Who else we got? Nicholas. I think Nicholas has some speed. Maybe Nicholas in the 2-hole.
Who's your closer?
My closer? Charles Woodall Pike.
Mm-hmm. He just said it himself. It's time for CWP to pitch. Absolutely.
See?
Absolutely.
See?
That would inject some fear into people. CWP running out of the bullpen.
Oh, yeah. 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 That's electric. All right. That's our team. But we appreciate you guys for being part of our team and for being here today for this much longer episode than we anticipated. But we're always happy to be here for as long as we can be. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at cap_caveman with a K. Jacob is at Jacob_Franklin4 because he's the 4th best Jacob Franklin in known existence. We are still Damon's Dogs. And of course, you can follow Damon Dog, DAWG. That's when we bark. Now, I set that up wrong, but we are Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark.
Rough.
No, rough. You have to be difficult. Of course, our show's at PHNX _D-backs, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We appreciate you guys for stopping by. We thank you so much. We'll be back here tomorrow. Jesse will return. I'm not sure if you'll notice any difference between Jacob and Jesse, but again, Jesse will be back tomorrow. So very excited to see if he survived. I have not heard from him. So I have no idea. He might not have. He was in a snowstorm. But anyway, we thank you guys for being here. And of course, we will see you at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you draft the next Julio Rodriguez.
We all silly like the mayor.